This is Milton. As you already know, I was in jail with Wes Watson, and as I've been sharing Wes Watson's ventures into custom prison wallets, I wanted to share with you the time that Wes Watson woke up from a deep nap where he had a dream that he was pitching his custom prison wallets to the sharks on Shark Tank. And it was so intense, and he believed it was, he said the dream was so realistic that the only thing he could do was get on the phone and call his bodyguards to tell them to do whatever they can to get the money, to get the attorney, to get him out of jail because he has to get on Shark Tank. So he turns around and runs to the telephones, and I say, "Yo, Wes." And he's like, "What do you want, soy boy?" I said, "You just said you had this big dream about pitching your custom prison wallets on Shark Tank. Can you elaborate a little bit?" He's like, "You know what? Yeah, I'll tell you what happened." He said it was the best dream I've ever had in my freaking life. And I'm like, "Cool, Wes, what happened? I mean, you went on Shark Tank. That's all you said. I mean, you seem really enthusiastic about this dream you just had." He said, "Well, let me tell you what happened, boy." He said, "I walked on to the stage at Shark Tank, and I walked in and I walked through those elaborate doors, and right there in front of my face was all five of the sharks, and staring directly at me was Mr. Wonderful, and my freaking heart was pounding, but I knew one thing. I'm freaking Wes Watson." So I walked onto that stage, and I said, "Hello, sharks. My name's Wes Watson. You guys have probably heard of me." And he said, I kind of looked around to see their reaction, and they were all looking at each other. And he's like, "Yeah, Wes Watson from YouTube." And they were like, "No, not really. Haven't heard of you." And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm a fitness guru." And they're like, "Oh, okay." They said, "No, still haven't heard of you." He's like, "So I'm here, sharks, to pitch to you my custom prison wallets." And the sharks were staring. He said, "So what I have for you right here," and he said, "Man, it was amazing. I had prototypes of all my custom prison wallets. I had the butterfly billfold, I had the fuzzy southern peach, I had the bell pepper, and I had the number one bestseller, the Wes Watson custom prison wallet, shaped literally just like my custom prison wallet, exact dimensions." And I tell the sharks, I said, "Listen, the problem that most people have today is that they don't know where to store pertinent paperwork and pertinent information. And a lot of people are wasting money on giant safes, and they're putting their paperwork in online and digital files that can't be encrypted and protected." He said, "What I want to give you is the best place in the world that you can put your pertinent paperwork, and that's right up your prison wallet." And the sharks were looking like, "Okay, you know," Mark raised his hand like this, and he said, "Can I ask you a question? What is a custom prison wallet?" He said, "You don't know what a freaking custom prison wallet is?" And Mark Cuban looks at me and he says, "Great sales pitch. I love the energy." And I look at Mark Cuban and I say, "Mark, every single one of you sharks has your own custom prison wallet. So what I would like is for my team to come in, get the measurements of each one of your custom prison wallets, and design your own custom prison wallet fit for each and every one of you's pertinent information." And he said, "That's exactly what I freaking bring to the freaking table." He said, "Once Mark told me he liked my energy, I was like, this is the Wes Watson that the whole world needs to know." And he's like, I still couldn't believe that they hadn't heard of me. And he said, at that point, Barbara's like raising her hand like a little squirrel over there. And I'm like, "Yeah, Barbara, what do you got to say?" And she looks and she says, "I'm out. This is just too aggressive for me." And he's like, "Yeah, I never wanted you to be the one to invest the percentage into my custom prison wallets." And she's like, "I don't know what to make of this guy." And Kevin's sitting there like this, Mr. Wonderful, and he's just twiddling his thumbs. And he looks to the left and he looks to the right and he says, And he said, "I'm beginning to think to myself, okay, the number one shark that I want is Mr. Wonderful, but I don't want to write the rest of the sharks that are still in out." And he said, "So let me tell y'all something. Have you ever been arrested and convicted and you were about to go to prison, and you knew that when you got to the prison or the county jail that the homies were going to want to know about your paperwork. And you knew you had to put your paperwork somewhere. And the only place that you had was your prison wallet. Well, I'm taking the prison wallet from prison and I'm putting the prison wallet into society. And I want to sell you the prison wallets. And Damon kind of looks and he's like, hey man, I know a bunch of homies I grew up with. I get what you're trying to sell here. He said, but what's stopping FUBU from making their own custom prison wallets? And he's like, you don't freaking have the proprietary rights, and you don't have a trademark on the custom prison wallets like the Wes Watson custom prison freaking wallets. And Damon's like, so that's where we get into some important stuff. So you're saying you trademarked the custom prison wallets? He's like, yeah, I already started the trademark process. And Mark Cuban looks at him and he says, so you have the trademark or you are filing for the trademark? And Wes says, well, I'm thinking about filing for the trademark. And Mark's like, yeah, I'm out. He's like, I didn't want you anyway. And he said, my heart's kind of beating. And it's like, I got 3 sharks left. And Lori says, I'm interested. And I look at Lori and I said, you're exactly what I picture when I picture custom prison wallets, because I want to market custom prison wallets to Instagram models. And Lori says, what do you mean? I'm what you picture when you think of custom prison wallets. You want to use Instagram models. He's like, you're the queen of freaking QVC, and you can help me peddle my custom prison wallets to all the Instagram models, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm out. He's like, what do you mean you out? She's like, yeah, you're not going to come on here and degrade women the way you degrade women. He's like, I never wanted you to be anyway because you're like a washed up Instagram model. And I'm like, yo, Wes, this isn't a good dream, Wes. You're totally dishonoring people. It's kind of like you already do in life, right? You can't go around making sales pitches, Wes, when you don't respect people. Nobody's going to invest in you, Wes. People, you got to tone it down, man. You're on the brink of never being able to come back from this. You have to stop, Wes. And Wes looks at me and says, I'll tell you how I make a comeback, soy boy. And that's what makes my comeback so epic in my dream. Just when you think all the odds and all the chips are stacked against me, the world works in my favor like it always does. The stars align right on Wes Watson. And Mr. Wonderful, sitting back like this, twiddling his thumbs, he says, there's one thing we haven't talked about yet. And he says, what kind of numbers are you making on year to date? And Wes says, I'm glad you asked, Mr. Wonderful, because that's the exact question that I was waiting for. He's like, since I started designing my custom prison wallets, he said, while I was still incarcerated, he said, I was selling my custom prison wallets for basic custom prison wallets for 10 soups, 5 honey buns, and 2 cigarettes. And they said, whoa, wait, you're telling me, well, how much of that is actually in production cost? And Wes looks at him and says, that's just it. I don't have any production costs because I'm freaking Wes Watson and I got the keys to the freaking yard. And when I got the keys to the freaking yard, I got everybody working for me just because I'm the one who's calling the shots. And that's just it. When you invest in Wes Watson's custom prison wallets, you get shot callers. You get the freaking shot caller. I ran Cali, I ran Arizona, and I run freaking Miami-Dade County. And I'm freaking Wes Watson. And all of a sudden, Barbara gets up out of her chair, he says, and he says she leaves. And Mr. Wonderful says, Barbara, where you going? And she's like, I can't do this. This is not professional, and this is not what I signed up to do. And Lori is sitting there, and she's kind of like laughing, and she's like, you know what? I want back in. And Mr. Wonderful says, oh, no, now you want back in. Wes, you don't need to hear her talk. What do you say, Wes? If you want Lori back in, I'm out. And what are you going to do, Wes? He's like, well, nobody made me a deal yet. And Damon is over there writing on his little chalk pad. And he looks up, he says, I've just crunched some numbers. I like the way you run things, Wes. You said that you don't have any production costs. And that's something I'm interested in because FUBU has a high production cost because it's costing us a lot of money because, you know what I mean? The sweatshops in China keep going up on me. But if you can get the prison homies to make this stuff for no cost at all, I'm going to make you an offer. And Wes is like, what's the offer going to be? And Damon's like, listen, I'm going to give you an unlimited amount of FUBU clothing that you can wear and you can put on your workout regimen program. We're going to sponsor you, Wes. And Wes is like, I don't need no freaking FUBU to sponsor me. And right at that time, that's about when Mark Cuban says, wait, hold up, Damon. I know this guy sounds a little intense and he's a little disrespectful, but I can see us both profiting off of this. I tell you what, Wes, if you will reconsider Damon's offer with unlimited supply of FUBU for sponsorship to your workout programs, I will also like to come in and make an offer where the Dallas Mavericks would give you season tickets, right, for you and a guest for every game for the next 10 years. And Wes says, I don't want no freaking Mavericks tickets. I need Heat tickets. And Mark Cuban says, fine, look, I can work it out. I can get you the Heat tickets because, you know, I know the person, right? And Wes says, okay, then now we're talking somewhere. And he said, by the way, do you think that you can get Dirk to come in to size his prison wallet too? And Mark Cuban says, I can talk to Dirk, I can do that. But you have to say you're in right now. And Wes is like, all right. And Mr. Wonderful says, hold up, Wes. He's like, I have an offer for you. He says, if you give me, for every sale, 6 soups to your 4 soups, and you give me 1 cigarette to your 1 cigarette, and I get 3 honey buns to your 2 honey buns, we have a deal. Is that a deal, Wes? And furthermore, you get me, Mr. Wonderful. It'll be my prison wallet's better than your prison wallet. And Wes says he starts to think about it, and he says, no, you thought too long, Wes. You're dead to me. I'm out. And Wes says, wait, what do you mean? And Lori comes and she's like, you know what? Let me come back in with these guys and QVC will put your prison wallets on QVC and we'll let you come on and show your prison wallet to the world and explain exactly how prison wallets can work. I can see this thing blowing up. It could be all over. You know, it'd be in every country. And Wes says, well, and Mr. Wonderful says, you know what? This guy's dead to me. I don't want to hear it anymore. And he said, you think you're dead to me? I'm freaking Wes Watson. I don't need no freaking Shark Tank. In fact, I've come to realize this isn't no Shark Tank. It ain't nothing but a freaking puddle of tadpoles.